It's been drifting through darkness between worlds, and now stands on the edge of fire. Three-Eye Atlas approaches perihelion, and all eyes are watching. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Briefing. Thank you to all the new subscribers out there. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Around here, we pull out all the hidden threads, testimony, history, and evidence most people never even hear about. Guys, I wanted to jump on here and talk a little bit about Three-Eye Atlas. Last video, I talked about like all the interesting things that convinced me to start looking at it. Since then, there has been a lot of news, but it's a lot of conversation and speculation and nothing really solid. And what I'm finding is about 95% of all the stuff that's out there coming out about Three-Eye Atlas is like baloney. Like nothing I can find really to say for sure. There's AI videos of Michio Kaku talking about Three-Eye Atlas that, you know, we can't even be for sure. A lot of the information is coming from like amateur astronomers. But one of the things that has been bothering me about this is this idea of an advanced civilization or extraterrestrials coming in a vehicle to Earth to visit us or whatever. But if you think about space travel, and if this civilization's way older than we are, and if you look at a lot of our theoretical concepts about space travel when it comes to like gravity and faster than light travel, the only thing that's stopping us is our material science. I find it hard to believe that an extraterrestrial race would be traveling at a hyperbolic trajectory for, since what, July? For months just to get to our solar system. It just doesn't seem right. And I'm kind of leaning on more of this being like an artifact from somewhere, like an advanced artifact or something. And that just seems more plausible, I guess. Last time, this whole thing about this tail, this anti-tail, right? Three-Eye Atlas is supposedly have this anti-tail, this tail that faces towards the sun as it's approaching the sun. I found this article, and from IFL Science that talks about this anti-tail. It says right here, when I was reading it, let me see if I can find it. Okay, so in this article, it kind of talks about this anti-tail. Occasionally, a comet can be seen, also showing a third tail apparently pointing towards the sun. Third tail apparently pointing toward the sun. This is also known as an anti-tail and is an optical illusion. An optical illusion, European Space Agency explains, of one type. The tail is really pointing directly away from the sun, but because of the Earth's relative location in space, we see wide tail. Is that it? Wide tail fanning out behind the comet and appearing to be on either side of the central region containing the nucleus. So this, I mean, they're saying that, I guess there is a tail, and we're just looking at it wrong. It's an optical illusion. That's kind of like weird. So I mean, I think the problem is like there's way too much information. Like I don't even know if I could believe like this, or if this is 100% accurate. Also, to mention that we're still in a government shutdown, and the best photos we have are from the Hubble telescope, I think, but we'll look into that. Also, I wanted to bring up something that was talked about like this past week. Jeremy Corbell responded to something he said back in January, and let me take a look at this.
So you can set them up to believe a lie. Sometimes when you want somebody to know a truth, it's so you can set them up to believe a lie. So UFOs are real, and they've been here a long time, and that's the truth. But the lie is coming. All indications, like all of them, is that that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth. It's nuanced, how they explain that, the nature of that threat, but that 100% is the lie you are going to be told.
So this kind of fit into what's happening now. So I was thinking that he was talking about this, right? Because of all this talk about how, oh, there's all these weird anomalies and this could be of extraterrestrial origin. But on his podcast, on his Weaponized podcast, he addresses this. So let's check this out.
If it's okay, let's jump into that.
Sure.
Everybody's asking what my opinion is on the 3-eye atlas, object coming to Earth. Now, I'm not an astronomer. I'm not a scientist, but why they're asking me is because I made a statement back in January saying that, hey, there's a lie coming. And of course, it was part of a show, and it was just but if you watch the whole show, you kind of understand what's going on. And I've made a ton of statements about why I would say something like that. I'm not hiding and just saying it. I've explained to people why multiple times, but people are asking about that. Now, I don't know anything about that particular comment. I read the same stuff as everybody else. The trend I'm realizing, our friend in the disclosure movement, Avi Loeb, he talks about these unique characteristics, and he's not wrong about that, but it is a consensus of one. I don't see a bunch of other astrophysicists and people working on this stuff really echoing that same sentiment. I do love his.
So I think we can, we owe all of this to Avi Loeb, right? Because this is where it all started, all these weird anomalies, and then it gets people talking about, oh, this could be aliens, or this could be, reptilians coming to Earth or whatever. But I thought that, Jeremy Corbell was, was talking about this. I mean, it just fits so right? And also there has been something that just came out. I was just reading this morning. So this was posted from a Dr. John Brandberg. Dear friend, something very strange may have occurred. 3-eye atlas was projected to have moved to a point behind the sun as viewed from Earth by October 29th. Instead, it now appears to have spurted ahead on its orbit and re-emerged from behind the sun early. And I looked at this, and this paper this article was from the 25th. And I think that, for a few weeks. I think I still have to read more on this, but it just doesn't seem correct. Because, people were, amateur astronomers were still talking about this thing being behind, or above or approaching the sun. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so yeah, I guess I have to read more about this paper. I just saw it this morning and it just seemed odd to me. This is the tracker. If this is correct or if this is right, it's still here, and we've got a couple of hours before it reaches perihelion, right? And so looking at this, I should have pointed this out in the last video. I guess I'll point it out now. What made me so interested in its approach, right? This is that elliptical plane that our planets are orbiting on, and you can see it's flat, and you can see how 3-eye atlas has come in on that, and on that trajectory where it's almost as flat. The last two comets, Oumuamua and Borisov, came in from the top, so they actually were coming down, and the big deal about this is that it's coming in on such a perfect trajectory. Now, and again, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I'm just kind of like sourcing material and just trying to pick out what makes sense to me. So okay, so like we're a couple of hours before it makes its closest approach to the sun, and now the question is, will it change its trajectory? Will it perform this Oberth maneuver where it slingshots, it changes its course, and then it makes its way off to Jupiter, where it looks like it's headed? And Jupiter would make sense. It's because it's the biggest planet and it has a lot of moons. It actually has a moon that has a gravitational field or a magnetic field like ours. And it would just be pulled by its gravity if everything, if everything goes like it's supposed to, according to this. And by the 30, I think it was like December 19th, I could be wrong, it would make its closest approach to Earth. But that's what it's looking like. So yeah, that was dropped. That came out today, and let's look at something else here. One of the reasons that I brought up the idea about our theoretical concepts about space travel and faster than light is because of this. This Miguel Alcubierre, I'm probably butchering that, but is a Mexican theoretical physicist, okay? And this was super fascinating. It's kind of something I've known about, but he had this plans for, so like warp drive. It's a theoretical concept that proposes a way to achieve faster than light travel by distorting space-time around spacecrafts. The idea is to create a warp bubble that contracts space-time in front of the spaceship while expanding space behind it. This effectively allows a spacecraft to ride a wave of warped space-time and travel faster than the speed of light. Warp drive were first conceptualized in 1957 and made famous in the popular science fiction show Star Trek. Do you believe warp drive is a realistic possibility in the future? So he had this whole plan on how we could actually do it. The only problem is material science, right? We don't have the ability to do this. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier is if we can think of this, I mean, wouldn't you think an advanced civilization would have already mastered something like this? Probably way better. But yeah. And so let's look at some other stuff here. I think there's some other things I wanted to talk about. Avi Loeb on 3i Atlas, the object will reemerge Wednesday, October 29th, which is only a couple of hours from now. And the object will, where was I? The object will reemerge Wednesday, 29th during the perihelion, and if it's a comet, it will continue on its course. But if it's alien tech, it could ever on its trajectory and head towards the Earth. See, I mean, like articles like this, it's like it makes you wonder, but that's another. I mean, it could, if it doesn't make its way, if it doesn't just go on its way to Jupiter and it does something weird, then we got to question it more, right? So I guess it's just something we're gonna just have to wait and see. Then Avi Loeb came out on, I think this was from yesterday morning. And one of the things I like about this is that as we talk more and more about this subject, about extraterrestrials and visitors from another planet, you kind of see newscasters and people taking it more seriously, and it's not something that is covered with a snicker, because every time this topic would come up, these anchor people and newscasters and whatnot, they would have like a snicker to it, or like it's not taken seriously. It's a joke. But in this interview, it's funny how they're kind of like they're talking about the idea of the possibility of visitors. So let's check it out.
And we can talk about why it's very fitting for us to discuss it as we approach Halloween.
You know, Avi, first of all, we love talking to you because you always have great insight. So thank you so much for doing this.
And you make it easy to understand, which is nice.
And we talked to you, I think it was earlier this month, about this same topic, but there's some new information now in terms of photos that have been released. What have we learned so far because of these new photos?
Well, the sharpest photo we had was from the Hubble Space Telescope, and it showed a glow in front of the object towards the sun, rather than what we see usually around comets, where you see an extension of a cometary tail that goes away from the sun because dust and gas are being pushed by the solar radiation and wind. In this case, it was looking different. And the object is also inferred to be very large, comparable to Manhattan Island. And, you know, that was very surprising because it's at least...
I like how they think that there's new photos, but, I mean, I think she was just, like, misinformed. And we don't have new photos, as far as I know. And because I've seen videos on... I think there's, like, a Japanese video that's going around that's like, oh, my God, this is like the closest we've seen, and it looks like an alien ship, and it's all long. And I was like, first of all, I think that is the wrong shape, and we don't have a camera that would show it that close, from my understanding.
1,000 times more massive than the previous two interstellar objects. So the question was, is it something other than a natural object? It followed the trajectory that was aligned with the planets around the sun. So perhaps it's on some reconnaissance mission. And most recently, we noticed over the month of September that the glow is changing direction. It's now...
And that's another interesting idea about like some reconnaissance mission. If this is like an artifact, or if this was sent here by someone, and to watch over us, or like look at what we're doing, or spy on us, that's pretty interesting to think about. I mean, so let's skip forward to this a little bit.
And, that would involve, of course, policymakers and politicians. But as a scientist, the first thing that I can alert to is to at least consider the possibility that we might see a visitor from interstellar space that could be potentially, associated with alien technology, that so that we monitor those things and collect as much evidence, because in a blind date, my advice to anyone that goes on a blind date is first observe the other side as much as you can before you have an opinion, before you say anything. And that's what we should do.
And I think we can like definitely understand like why he's saying all this stuff, because this is stuff that we haven't seen before. And if there is no explanation, we have to consider the more fantastic explanation, right? So
in this case,
Avi, you mentioned the fact of the government shutdown. It almost seems like in some ways this could be the perfect storm, right? If it is potentially a spaceship out there, or an alien mothership or something like that, we don't officially know. So my question to you is, what do you think it actually is? And if it is potentially, something dealing with aliens, what should we be preparing for? You mentioned the stock market. Is there anything we can do to kind of brace ourselves for this? Because that could potentially be terrifying or even catastrophic.
I'm scared.
It seems like they're being funny, but it also seems like they're actually pretty serious. And he does mention this black swan event that's a possibility, which is kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah,
For
well,
sure.
yeah, that's right. I mean, in the context of intelligence agencies, they are always prepared for low probability events with huge implications, because when you don't prepare for that, you are surprised, and that could be quite dangerous. However, we were never prepared for this kind of a scenario. We always thought about rocks coming from the sky. These are meteors. And I completely agree with you that we should change the way we address, because right now we are entering a new era. There is the Rubin Observatory in Chile that will find interstellar visitors every few months, and so we should be ready for such a situation. And the question is, what kind of plan should we make in case we notice some alien technology? I sent a white paper submitted to the United Nations, the International Astronomical Union, bringing up this point that we should be better prepared. But I do think, realistically speaking, that the politicians will take it seriously after the first encounter. And then, we will have to establish an alert system that includes probes in the outer solar system that alert us to any incoming technological object. And then we have to decide how to deal with it. Should we intercept them? And my view on that is that it really depends on the details of what these visitors are. We have to figure them out, to learn as much as possible about them, and come close to any of them and take some close-up photographs to infer what they are about. And but it may well be that if they are representing technologies far more advanced than ours, that we won't be able to do much, and then it will introduce a lot of uncertainty about the implications. And it's something we haven't discussed in the past, but now I think we should.
And just to note something, that even if we could do something with this, it's too big, right? And it's too big. It's traveling too fast, and it's even. I think Avi Loeb has even said, like, there's really nothing we could do to stop it or grab it or anything. So even if we see something coming, what else could we do to stop it? Like, if it were to come to Earth, there's really nothing we can do.
October 29th is the date you said, right? So we all need to be bracing for everything. Maybe Halloween won't go the way we thought. Okay, I want to ask you about this, because you did write that interesting article, that piece that you were saying that you put out. I think that was last week. And you mentioned there that, this is not kind of like the first time. So do you think interstellar beings have visited Earth in the past? And if the answer is yes, when and what were the results? Did they just come through space and then go back to where they came from? Do we know?
Well, that's an excellent question. Recorded human history is only 8,000 years old. And that's 1 part in a million of the age of the Milky Way galaxy. So we just don't know what happened before humans started recording their history. I discussed it on Friday with Joe Rogan in an episode that should come out soon, perhaps tomorrow, or definitely this week. I'm completely open-minded about that. It's possible that we just don't know how much traffic we had of such visits, and what the implications were in the past, and whether they put any monitors in our baby room. Our civilization is so young, they might think of us as a baby that needs some monitors in the baby room, and then if they see anything worrisome, they might actually show up in a way that we don't anticipate. So it's possible that in fact, just today I'm finishing a paper about an object that was defined as a quasi-moon, a mini moon that was added perhaps to the actual moon that we have. It was discovered just a couple of months ago near Earth, and this is an interesting question as to whether such an object, suddenly we see a mini moon that is around us. Is that a monitor, installed by some interstellar visitor? We have to keep our eyes on the sky and figure things out based on data, based on evidence, rather than, speculations. And I'm just...
See, and here's one thing to think about. Like, because of all this speculation, we don't have full transparency, right? Because of NASA, we don't have photos, and NASA is infamously known for, altering photos, like, of Mars and things like that. So that's gonna kind of always be hard, right? I don't feel like we would ever really. I don't feel like we will ever really get the truth on this type of stuff, simply because of, you know, the whole secrecy over alien technology and extraterrestrials themselves, of just keeping it under wrap.
Suggesting that we keep this in mind, because the worst thing you can do is ignore any potential risk from alien technology.
You know, I did see, Avi, some articles posted, and it didn't seem like it was the best sources, so maybe I didn't really believe it, with that second moon.
Do you see that about what she's saying? It's like, that's what I'm seeing with all of this stuff that's coming out. It just doesn't seem like there are any good sources.
Quote unquote. I have a two-part question for you. One, talking about some of the, quote unquote evidence, I guess we're seeing that 3I Atlas could be a mothership and rather than just an object, because I saw reports that a tail was changing directions on it. And then another part is what we have on the bottom of our screen there, that it's Manhattan-sized comet. How much damage could that do?
Oh, so the size is, first of all, quite surprising, because as I said, it's at least 1,000 times more massive than the previous two visitors, and you just don't expect something as huge as that to come before you see, let's say, 1,000 more smaller objects. And also the trajectory was aligned with the planets, which is very surprising, because the chance of that happening at random is 1 in 500. So in that sense, that raised my alert to the object, and so. We just need to get more data about it. There is also nickel shed by this object, much more than iron, and that is a signature of technological manufacturing of nickel alloys. So
he brings that up again, and that really makes me believe. That was what really piqued my interest, is this nickel, and it's not found anywhere in nature or in space. So what is it? It's just something that we've never seen before, or is it actually from an advanced civilization that made it?
The object is strange, but it could be that all of these quite rare properties are by chance. Like we need to figure them out, understand where they're coming from, and especially keep our eyes on it for the next few months, just to make sure that it doesn't maneuver and doesn't release any mini probes that could affect the Earth and in an unexpected way. And so altogether, I ranked it 4 on a scale where 10 is definitely technological and 0 is definitely natural. This is now called the Loeb scale, and I say that it is sufficiently unusual for us to keep an eye on it, but it may not be it may not raise any reason for concern as of now, until we notice something that definitely makes it technological. For example, we can see that it maneuvers in ways that rocks do not. We can see some artificial lights coming from it, or we can detect a radio signal from it. There are all kinds of ways by which you realize something is technological. We haven't seen that yet. But we need to look at it, and it will be closest to Earth actually on December 19th, which is just the week before Christmas. I hope it will not ruin any.
Okay, so December 19th, but all the stuff that he said about it displaying all these anomalies, that is just super fascinating, and just I guess. Right now, we're just going to have to kind of wait a little bit and find out, see what happens, after the 29th, and see if it is making its way to Jupiter, or if it makes a different maneuver and goes off its trajectory. And so until then, I will just keep looking at all the information that's coming out, and looking at all the data that's available, and yeah, guys, I guess we're just gonna have to see what happens. Let me know what you think is gonna happen, and that's all I have for you today, guys. And I will see you later. I'll be back with another one in a couple of days.